Just look at this. Chelsea are in their own half, but instead of staying compact and building with a back three or back four, they build with only two center-backs. Cucurella and Reece James push high and wide into midfield, immediately stretching Brentford's first line of pressure. This right here is one of the key tactical differences between Liam Rosenior and Enzo Fernandez's Chelsea. Liam Rosenior has just picked up his first Premier League win, as Chelsea beat Brentford 2-0 at Stamford Bridge, with João Pedro opening Rosenior's Premier League campaign. But this result wasn't just about goals. It was about structure, spacing, and control. If you enjoy this kind of tactical breakdown, subscribe, turn on the bell notification, and don't forget to like, share, and comment. It really helps the channel grow. Both Liam Rosenior and Keith Andrews set their teams up in a 4-2-3-1 formation, each looking to gain the upper hand. But the difference came in the build-up phase. Chelsea consistently formed a 2-3 base, using the fullbacks as midfielders, forcing Brentford to choose: press high and leave space behind, or drop off and concede control. And that decision shaped the entire game. When Brentford are in possession in their own half, they look to build with a back three, but in an interesting way. Goalkeeper Caoimhín Kelleher steps high to join the two center-backs, Nathan Collins and Christopher Ajer. The center-backs split wide, while Kelleher positions himself as the central center-back, effectively acting as an extra outfield player. This allows Brentford's fullbacks, Rico Henry and Michael Kayode, to push higher and form a midfield four alongside Vitaly Janelt and Yehor Yarmolyuk. This structure is crucial tactically. With the goalkeeper stepping into the build-up, Brentford effectively have 11 outfield players instead of 10, creating numerical superiority across the pitch. This makes it difficult for Chelsea to go fully aggressive man-to-man without either becoming defensively vulnerable or leaving large gaps in their back line. To counter this, Chelsea pressed Brentford in a narrow 4-4-2 shape. João Pedro and Cole Palmer formed the first line of pressure, while the wingers, Pedro Neto and Alejandro Garnacho, stayed compact instead of jumping out to press the fullbacks. This was a deliberate choice. If Chelsea's wingers pressed wide too early, it would immediately open passing lanes into Brentford's wingers. By staying narrow, they focused on blocking central passing lanes and forcing Brentford wide. Behind them, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo closely tracked the movements of Damsgaard and Yarmolyuk in the central channels, preventing easy progression through midfield. In response, Brentford were happy to progress the ball from wide areas. Their wingers dropped deep and moved inside to bait Chelsea's fullbacks forward. Once that happened, Brentford looked to switch the ball quickly to the fullback on the opposite side. As the switch was made, both the passing defender and the inverted winger made aggressive runs into the wide channel left vacant by Chelsea's pressing fullback. A good example comes here. Ajer is on the ball, and Jensen drifts centrally, dragging Cucurella with him and opening up space on the flank. Ajer recognizes this and plays the ball out to Kayode, before both Ajer and Jensen attack the space vacated by Cucurella, looking to create a 2-versus-1 on the recovery. Although this move was largely unsuccessful, it highlights Chelsea's defensive discipline. They were quick to double up, immediately closing down the fullback and ensuring Brentford had no time or space to exploit the overload. That balance between aggression and protection was a key theme of Chelsea's defensive performance. Chelsea showed strong defensive resolve in their own half and were rarely broken down through sustained possession. Brentford struggled to create clear chances against Chelsea's compact structure. The only moment Chelsea were truly exposed came immediately after losing the ball. Brentford counterattacked at speed, with Igor Thiago and Kevin Schade splitting wide, forcing Chelsea's center-backs to also split. That movement created central gaps in Chelsea's defensive line, allowing Brentford to attack the space and almost find a breakthrough. However, moments like this were rare. At the other end, Chelsea's front foot pressing proved decisive. Their aggressive counter-pressing high up the pitch forced turnovers, and one of those moments led directly to a Chelsea counterattack that resulted in a goal. When Chelsea are in possession, Liam Rosenior's side builds up with a clear positional structure that mirrors many modern elite teams. Rather than maintaining a traditional back four, Chelsea deliberately build with only two center-backs, while both fullbacks, Reece James and Marc Cucurella, step high into midfield. As they move inside, James and Cucurella join Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, forming a midfield diamond which at times becomes a box midfield depending on Enzo's positioning. This central overload gives Chelsea constant numerical superiority between the lines, allowing them to circulate possession quickly and attract pressure. Crucially, this structure is also designed with rest defense in mind. By keeping both fullbacks narrow and close to the center, Chelsea are well positioned to counter-press immediately if possession is lost, reducing Brentford's ability to counter into open space. Higher up the pitch, Alejandro Garnacho and Pedro Neto remain high and wide, pinning Brentford's fullbacks and stretching their defensive block horizontally. This width prevents Brentford from collapsing centrally and opens up interior passing lanes for Chelsea's midfielders. To disrupt this build-up, Brentford adopted an aggressive man-oriented pressing scheme. Their approach was not zonal but player-focused, aiming to deny Chelsea time and rhythm in the first and second phases. Brentford's fullbacks were instructed to track Chelsea's wingers tightly, ensuring Garnacho and Neto could not receive freely. In midfield, Matthias Jensen stepped out aggressively to press Cucurella, preventing him from dictating play from the left interior. Mikel Damsgaard followed Caicedo, while Kevin Schade pressed Reece James on the opposite side. Ahead of them, Igor Thiago led the press, locking onto Chelsea's center-backs and blocking direct progression through the middle. This coordinated pressure succeeded in disrupting Chelsea's midfield dominance, forcing them into longer spells of circulation and reducing their ability to play through the center with ease. Chelsea's primary solution to this pressure came through João Pedro's movement. Rather than staying fixed on the defensive line, the striker repeatedly dropped into midfield, positioning himself between Brentford's lines. If he wasn't tracked, Chelsea immediately had a free man in central areas, allowing them to progress the ball cleanly. When Brentford chose to follow João Pedro into midfield, the consequences were just as dangerous. His movement pulled a center-back out of the defensive line, creating vertical gaps for Cole Palmer to attack. With quick wall passes and third-man combinations, Palmer was often able to receive on the half-turn and drive directly at Brentford's back line. Although these actions did not always result in goals, they consistently destabilized Brentford's defensive shape and generated high-quality attacking situations. In moments where João Pedro stayed high, Chelsea adjusted again. Cole Palmer drifted wide or dropped deeper, while João Pedro occupied both center-backs centrally. This created a clear dilemma for Brentford's fullbacks: step out to press Palmer and leave a 3 versus 3 against the defensive line, or hold their position and allow Palmer time and space to dictate play. Both options favored Chelsea. If the fullback stepped out, Chelsea could immediately exploit the space in behind with a direct ball into the path of Garnacho or Neto. If the fullback held his position, Palmer could receive freely and progress the attack through carries or switches of play. These constant rotations, striker dropping, midfielder advancing, winger inverting or running beyond, prevented Brentford from ever settling into a stable defensive rhythm. Overall, Chelsea's build-up play was defined by positional discipline, intelligent movement, and structural flexibility, allowing them to control large periods of the game despite Brentford's aggressive pressing approach. In the end, this was a game decided by structure, discipline, and control. Chelsea were not flawless, but they were tactically coherent. In possession, their use of a midfield diamond and box structures allowed them to manipulate Brentford's press through intelligent rotations. Out of possession, their compact shape and aggressive counter-pressing ensured that Brentford's attacking threat was limited almost entirely to transition moments. Brentford's aggressive, man-oriented press caused Chelsea problems at times, but it also came with risk. Chelsea's positional flexibility, particularly through João Pedro's dropping movements and Cole Palmer's intelligent positioning, repeatedly forced Brentford into difficult defensive decisions. Defensively, Chelsea showed maturity. Aside from one counter-attacking moment, they controlled space well, recovered quickly, and prevented Brentford from sustaining pressure. And when opportunities appeared, Chelsea's press turned defensive actions into attacking outcomes. This match wasn't just about the scoreline. It was about how Chelsea controlled the game through structure, how they absorbed pressure without panic, and how Liam Rosenior's tactical ideas translated into a controlled, convincing Premier League victory. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe, drop a like, and let me know in the comments which match you want analyzed next.